You still have to tell me that story too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want? Yeah, we can talk about that. I don't mind. I mean, well,
I mean, like, we could do it later. Oh,
yeah.
we're streaming. Awesome.
Yes, we are now
Cool.
streaming.
Okay. Does it show how many people are watching on your end? That would be cool.
Actually, no. If I need to on my laptop. So give
Yeah.
me a moment. Where is the
Oh, that's
tweet?
okay.
I can put it on my bookmark here. I tag you, okay?
I'm sorry.
I will tag you on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Awesome. It's sent. So now I can close this one and be here fully.
Hi.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us.
I don't think I've done these live before. I love this.
Yeah, it is fun. When I start doing this, I never thought that it will be flowing so well. And yeah, once I done a few and I was like, I love this. We are just like, being open and just chat away on what we think about spirituality or anything related to spirituality, but we have another point of view, is feel free to express. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I got to put this on Do Not Disturb or it's going to buzz all the way
Okay.
through.
I should do that too.
It will.
Okay.
My phone never leaves me alone, even when I was down for 2 months. It kept going and going. So
Wow.
that's like how you know that your life is wrapped up in your work and your work is wrapped up in your life. It's like there's nothing different between your life and your work. It's like, that's how you know when you're down and out and you can't do anything with yourself, but your phone is still just going away and there's nothing you can do about it, but just let it go. So funny. That's actually part of living authentically, I think, now that we're on that topic.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
I forgot to, put recording. So one moment.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so then later on you can actually have a copy if you want to and upload it anywhere you want.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah. So yes, living authentically. So okay, but before we jump in, so today we have Betsy with us. I pronounced that correctly, Betsy?
Yes.
Yeah, today we have Betsy with us, and we are going to talk about the topic of living authentically. But before we jump in, Betsy, let's tell us, let's introduce yourself, who you are, what do you do, etc. Yes.
So I am many, many things. I'm mostly a healer. I guess you could just kind of wrap everything up that I do into that word. I have a YouTube channel, Fearless Intuition. I've been doing that for about 4 years. And I just recently, the YouTube channel was astrology, tarot, general guidance. I work with people one-on-one. I work with people in groups. I teach workshops and all of that stuff to generally like help people learn who they are on this journey that we're on. Because it's very confusing and it can be very hard when you're shifting so dramatically in life. Recently I had an extreme medical emergency, so I was kind of flattened for a couple of months, and things have shifted a little bit for me, because when we go through something like that, you have to kind of take stock of your life and ask yourself if what you are actually doing is what you're supposed to be continuing to do. And I'm a firm believer that, like, I'm really stubborn, and I know that you're kind of stubborn too. You're like, I want to do it my way. But when we are really stubborn like that, spirit has a way of coming in and saying, now, okay, since you didn't listen, we're gonna like lay you flat, and now you really have to shift. And so it was this experience, I think, opened up my eyes to how much work I've already done. And I never in my 41 years of life ever thought that I would touch as many lives as I have already touched. So I'm extremely blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be alive, but I'm blessed to be here with you. And that's what I want to keep doing. I just want to keep touching lives in as many ways as I possibly can. And whether that means I keep the healer title. I don't really believe in titles, but if that's not the worst title to have, like I'd rather have that title than some others. But yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So it is definitely so nice to meet you. I still remember the first time we connected on Twitter, and I was like, hey, this lady is very cool, and she's reading mainly you were doing tarot on YouTube. That's what I know you for. Yeah. So I was like, this is very cool, like awesome, like oh my god. And back that time I was doing tarot. Yeah, it was. Is it last year or the year previously?
It's been a couple years, I think 2 years probably.
Yeah.
I feel like 2020 just flew right by, like it actually didn't really exist.
Yes.
So yeah.
2021 too. It's already June. Can you believe it?
I know, I can't. I'm so shocked. And it's funny that I was flattened for 2 months because it still went by really fast, even with all of that happening. So
yes.
Yeah, the time, it has changed dramatically for sure, I think. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are reassessing their lives because of all this. Like we talk about going back to normal or whatever the new normal is supposed to be. And that's sort of why I wanted to have this topic, because are we being authentic as we move back into the new normal, or are we just enmeshing ourselves into the new normal for a from the matrix?
Yeah, true.
And the paradigm that we came from.
Very, very true for that. But there will be still a lot of people craving for that normalcy. I feel that, or in a way, it's like I feel like a lot of people doesn't really want to make the change, because if you want change, you have to make the change.
Yeah, and you have to work at it.
Yeah, because otherwise it will go back to the normal. A lot of people want to go back to the normal because they don't want to put in that effort to it. So they'll be like, yeah, I want the old life back.
Yeah. And when it's so that, like, this topic is just like, so there's so many facets to what you could really talk about with this. But so recently I decided to, every once in a while I'll jump back on Facebook. And before I had my awakening, which was about 4 years ago, or actually it was like 5 years ago, it was 2016. Before I had my awakening, I was still very much active on Facebook. I was still very much active in the matrix. I was a project manager in telecom. I'd been doing that for 15 years. Like I was the boss. I was telling people what to do. And I liked it. It was stressful, but I thought that when I was stressing out, that meant that was a good thing. Like, yes, I'm getting my job done because I'm stressing out. Typical Virgo, typical Capricorn, qualities.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We love the stress of work. But the thing about it is once I started going through my awakening, I started pulling myself away from the Facebook world. And I mean, I've got like 500 friends on Facebook, and they're all from high school, and I still live in the same town as what I went to school with all my all the kids from high school. And I'm still in the same town because I'm raising my children here. Their fathers are here, right? So I still live in the same town. So to see how being inauthentic when you're trying to be authentic in an inauthentic world, to be able to do that, it's very like there's such a fine line. And recently, after everything that's happened to me, I thought, I'll go over to Facebook and I'll tell everybody what's been going on with me. And, I kind of just felt like that obligation to these people that have known me for 40 years, like since kindergarten, really. So I did that and nobody cared. Like nobody made any comments, nobody did. And I was like, and so I'm sitting here thinking, was that my ego that really wanted to, like, did I need to have some kind of comforting? Did I need to have, and I ask myself these questions often. Was that my ego or was that my soul? Which one is working here? Because I'm a firm believer that our ego never actually really goes away. It never dies, and it's not supposed to. We have our egos for a reason. So yeah, so I did that. And then I just thought it's just very interesting how you can put yourself out there and you can be very authentic in your feelings and you can be very open and vulnerable to other people, and other people don't have to respond to that. Other people don't have to care. And if I were the kind of person that would have been like, all like, I can't believe nobody was gonna, you know what I mean? If I were that kind of person to get upset, that could have wounded me in a lot of ways, had I not already healed many, many wounds prior to that, for that not to even happen. But that's sort of what I'm talking, that's sort of where the authenticity is for me, is where, like, I still live in a city where everybody wants to pretend that they're your friends. But at the same time, something happens to you and they're just like, I see nothing. I see nothing. I don't know what's going on here. I see nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just very, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. They overlook the people quite often.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I do also feel, as you're talking about this, it just brings me back to my own, like, kind of coming out that I'm doing Reiki as business. I'm not going to look for a job. I did that on Instagram, where most of my family follows me.
Yeah.
So none of my family member reply to me or respond to me, like nothing. So I was just like, okay, sure. But I do see that they are very uncomfortable when someone's come out so, so bravely, like, when we are just standing out in our authentic light and just be like, hey, I am doing this, and be, true and open. They are forced to look away, because if they look at us and start thinking, they will be forced to, think that their life has been a lie.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think that that's very true.
Yeah.
And the people that want to so badly not see the truth of some things are going to do everything in their power to not see the truth of some things.
Yes.
And even so recently as, just a couple of weeks ago, of believing somebody being extremely authentic to me and then them turning around and like using it against me instead. And I was just like, wow, like the actual coming into my energy space and using, the love that I have inside for your benefit, and then turning around and then using it against me is just, it's fascinating. And it's weird because we talk about in the spiritual community how much we have to protect ourselves. And the words that you use, the coming out, you don't think about that. Like when you meet somebody who is a spiritual teacher, a spiritual guide, whatever, you have to understand that those people probably went through pretty big lengths in their lives to become what they are, despite what their family wanted, despite what their friends wanted. And so early on, we learn pain and we learn what it's like to be shunned and stuff like that. And I don't think that it's the same as a lot of things where people are shunned, like racism or all of the horrible things that have been happening, Asian hate crimes and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's the same thing at all. That's been happening for a very, very long time. But if you think about all the way back to the witch trials, because they weren't understood living their own lives, they weren't understood, they were burned instead. And that's been happening for centuries. I don't know if you've seen that shirt that said, I am the granddaughter of the witches that couldn't be burned. Have you seen that? Yeah, yes. I think that's like, who knows if that's actually true, but it's funny to think about. So, yeah, it's just very interesting, the kind of path that we have to take to get to where we are. And we really have to stand. I think I kept my new path a secret. There are still a lot of people in my life that don't know that I'm an astrologer, that don't know that I read tarot, that don't know that. And then when I tell them what Reiki is, they're like, well, how does that work? And I'm like, didn't you know we're all balls of energy? Like, this isn't, we're not just floating around, not doing anything. So yeah. It's very interesting.
I do think that you have quite a bit of like, skeptics or science people around you then. Because
I live in Kansas City. I don't know if you know much about the states, but I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's literally right in the middle of the United States. Literally right in the middle. I won't even tell you some of the words that they use for this city, but like my son called it something very gross the other day. And I was like, I don't even want to have that image in my mind anymore. But we're right in the middle of the United States. And so everything that happens in New York, everything that happens in LA, all of that stuff happens first, right? All of like the trends and the fashion things and like all of that. And then like 3 years later, we get it. We get it here. Maybe not 3 years. That might be exaggerating, but I live, they call it the flyover state, which it's a pretty cool place to live. It's not small by any means. It's just not evolved. It's not as evolved as some people, namely me, would like it to be. I feel like whenever I've been to Los Angeles or whenever I've been to New York City, you can tell the people there are much more evolved because they're going faster and they're moving faster and they're doing more things and whatever. So it's not that I live around scientists. It's not that I have a lot of scientists around me. It's just I have a lot of skeptical people that they've never heard of it. Like, I knew about psychic things when I was little, but I didn't even know what tarot was until I picked up tarot cards 4 years ago. And like, I taught myself how to read tarot. I didn't have anybody to teach me that. Most of the things that I've done, I've taught myself, except for Reiki. Obviously, we need somebody for that. But yeah, there's just a lot of skeptics in my world. And I think a lot of it is just because of small-minded. They just don't want to expand like the concept that there could be something bigger happening in this world. Yeah,
I feel this so much. It reminds me, as you're talking about this, it very, very reminds me of the conversation I had with my mom, I think 2 nights ago. So I literally started like having my business like starting to move very fast last year when I was in Japan, when I'm living away from my mom. So as I was doing Reiki and so on, my mom was like starting to worry. Is my daughter in some sort of like dark magic or some sort of like weird religion that she's doing all this? And I was like, it is exactly the mindset like most of the people in my country have. Like, if they're about Reiki, energy work, dark magic, or you are doing curses,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, but this is wrapped in love. Like, how could it be dark magic when the intention is love? And I think that that's the biggest thing is I let my energy speak for itself sometimes. Like I don't when before
Mhm.
somebody even asks me what I do, because
Yes.
I'm a much more relaxed person than I was years ago.
Mhm.
Whether that was because I was in a bad marriage, whether it was because I was a single mom raising boys at one point, and or
Mhm.
whether it was I was a project manager, which was a really stressful job, or adding all of it up together, I was
Mhm.
very stressed out all the time. I look back at pictures of myself just like 4 or 5 years ago, and my face is all crunched. Yeah, I'm trying to smile, but it looks like forced. It's kind of funny.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the thing. So like we recently had a graduation party for my middle son,
Mhm.
and so funny, my oldest turned 20 this weekend, and we also had a graduation party for my almost 18-year-old son. So I'm like, no. When did that happen to me? Um but there were a lot of people there that I hadn't seen in a long time. And so
Mhm.
instead of going the route of what I'm doing these days, I talked more about like my medical stuff, because I'm like, I just don't want to get into, I don't want people to be like, ooh, so you're a tarot reader, huh? Did you bring your cards? Like, let's, that because that happens to me. They think that they like all of a sudden think I'm some kind of like magical beast with a,
Yes.
funny looking head on. And yeah, they get really weird. It gets really weird. And
Mhm.
they think I'm going to solve all of their problems right there. And I'm like, that's not how it works. I can tell you how to help yourself solve your problems, but like, I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
But I think it's the biggest misconception, and so I'll just let my energy speak for itself when it comes to things like that, because you can tell the difference between a person who's really really stressed out in their life and somebody who just loves waking up every day and would rather. I don't think that there was a day in I call it my past life, even though that was this lifetime, I don't think there was a day that I really really enjoyed waking up until I found myself, until I decided that I was going to live my way and not everybody else's way. So,
I feel,
yeah.
yeah, I feel that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that a lot of things that you mentioned, like as you're recounting how you're waking up at 2016, as well as recently, like, how like you were being put to rest, kind of like put to rest,
Yeah.
um, as well as having people who are like you using your energy against you. All this I really resonate a lot because it's similar journey. Is never the same, but it's kind of like similar thing. Oh, similar thing happened to me. So
Yes.
wow, like there is so much synchronicity in this. And yeah, I do feel that sometimes when we are flowing, when we are just flowing, and then you would likely come across like the path of someone who is flowing alongside with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
flowing in a way is also being authentic because you're just like, just flowing, just
Absolutely.
being you. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
no.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't realize, because I don't know that there was an actual exact moment when I started flowing with my life instead of fighting against it. Because for a while I was fighting against it because I was still stuck in the matrix mindset. I have to make money, I have to survive. It was the survival instinct, which I've had to survive my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's very hard when you're a survivor, to get that out of your mind, that you don't have to be a survivor anymore. So I don't know the exact moment that it happened. I can like pinpoint certain things that were happening probably this time last summer that were
Mm,
showing me that I was more in flow than I thought maybe that I
mm,
was. And it wasn't until I met my partner in October, I think. And when he and I were talking, he has a way of explaining things to me where I'm just like, oh, I know what that is. Okay, I get it now. And when he described like the flow and the way things flow with him, I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing now. Instead of like being concerned. And obviously I'm a Virgo, so we're going to go back to the worry and the stress. You know, that's going to kind of always be that thing where no, Betsy, don't go there. Like I'm going to smack my hand every time I go back to worry, but it's going to be one of those things. And I'm a 12th house Virgo. So
Oh,
yeah, I have like 5, I have my North node in the 12th house. So
oops.
it's like, yeah, I'm
Is that
really hard
me?
on
Oh
myself.
no.
I'm really,
One moment as we're waiting.
yeah.
Not sure whether I'm frozen or Betsy's frozen.
Oh,
Okay.
you're back.
Okay. Is that me or I'm not sure. Okay, my Wi-Fi has been weird since Mercury retrograde, so you know.
Oh, I'm keep forgetting that we're in Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Is it good now?
I think so. Yeah, it's
Okay.
all good in white line. But I kind of like miss out in the middle as you're mentioning about you know, how you're flowing and you know stopping yourself from worrying.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I smack my hand when I'm worrying too much, when I allow myself to worry too much. But I'm a 12th house Virgo. So and I'm really hard on myself. My North node's in the 12th house. So I'm harder on myself than I am on anybody else. And I think that in itself is something where I've had to learn to be more authentically me, because if I'm not being me, you know, in every single way, in every authentic way, then there really is no point in me being in that situation at all. And I feel like that should be a rule for everybody. If I have to put a mask on to go into this, like, I don't want to go into situations where I can't be myself anymore. You know how you would like go see friends and stuff? Like maybe you haven't seen your friends in a couple years and you go in to get some drinks with your friends and you get there and you're like, I have nothing to talk about with these people. Like I can't be in situations like that anymore. Yeah.
I feel that. I was just saying I feel that.
Yeah. It's interesting to, and it's not that I think I'm better than them at all by any means. It's just I outgrew the topics that they talk about. I outgrew the energy that they give out. I'm not there to bitch and whine about how bad my life is or how exhausted I am or how miserable things are or, oh my God, you know, did you get the vaccine or did you not get the vaccine? And like those are just, it's like, that's what the conversations are these days, the weather or the vaccine, because the weather's kind of crazy too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I have to remove myself from situations that are like that.
Yeah.
And I wish that for everybody, that they would not put themselves in places that make themselves feel uncomfortable just for the sake of saying that they did it, you know, like
Very, very true.
yeah. And I think that anybody that is struggling with being authentic in their life, it's a really good start for them to start asking themselves questions. You know, people ask me what the purpose of life is all the time. And I say, your purpose is self-realization. It's not about some big thing that you're going to save the world or that you're going to heal a lot of people or that a whole lot of people are just going to be like, boom, I'm awake because of you. It's going to be the way that you interact with people on a day-to-day basis. It's going to be the way that you interact with yourself in your own mind. It's going to be the love energy that you're putting out. So, you know, allowing yourself to say, am I being authentic in this moment? If I go to this thing, can I be 100% myself, or am I going to have to dumb myself down? Because we talk about walking into rooms and not matching energy. You know what I mean? Like we want to keep our energy way up here. And when we walk into that room, if nobody's meeting us way up here at our level, that room is not for us to be in, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a pretty good start for most people to try to figure out how to be more authentic in their lives. And we also have to remember the shame. You know, there's that whole shame spiral that we put on ourselves because we think that whatever it is that we're doing is negative or is wrong or is hurtful to other people. Yeah, like, you know, having a friendship for 20 years and then all of a sudden you guys don't work anymore because you changed and that person didn't, doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you outgrew each other. But to shame yourself that way will make you be inauthentic because you'll change. You'll come down, you'll match their energy.
Yeah, you try to make the relationship work, which is actually very hard to work, especially if you have to force yourself to be in that, how to say, that unhappy situation, unhappy mindset, like just to stay in a relationship. Most of the time, I find that it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I mean, I've been married twice. I've married and divorced twice. And I used to joke and be like, if you want marriage advice, don't come to me. I'm what not to do in marriages. Except for I am exactly what to do in the marriages that I was in. Because I was true to myself. I could have stayed. The first marriage, actually both of them, I stayed longer than I probably needed to. But I don't give up easily either. I'm not the person to just throw in the towel easily, but I was always the one that left. I was always the one that said, I'm not going to do this with you anymore. Like, this is not me anymore. But that always makes you the villain. So people stay because they don't want to be seen as the bad person. But again, you're being inauthentic. If you can't remove yourself from a situation, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a work situation, whether it's a marriage, if you can't remove yourself because you're afraid of how other people are going to look at you, you are living a lie.
And I have to add one thing, even though people might hate me, is that if you overstay in a relationship, okay, most of the time I would say it's a like romantic relationship or husband and wife, that is when most of the cheating happens.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're unhappy. Both of you are unhappy. So
right.
Yeah, might as well just admit the unhappiness and, you know, sometimes just like admit the unhappiness and walk away.
Right. Well, and, you know, and this is probably another topic for another day because I could really get into this one, but my partner and I are really big on the conscious coupling where we know, or we're very aware that right now we are in each other's energy. It's meshed in with each other. And maybe someday, maybe not someday, we won't be together anymore. But that's not for us to decide today. So that's the freedom that you need within relationships, to come together as two individual people that already have your shit together, right? Two people that have their shit together, they come together and then they make, you know, beautiful energy with each other. But that doesn't mean that you're together forever. And I think that that's what gets lost on people because society, the patriarch, has told us once that ring is on your finger, you're there for good. But the divorce rates, because people think it's so easy to get married, and it's really just a business agreement anymore. People are going to hate me for saying that, but everybody knows it. Even people that aren't awake know that it's just a business agreement to get married. You know,
very true.
Because your taxes are lower, your insurance is lower. The amount that I pay for car insurance being a single woman, I'm like, I don't even drive that much. How am I paying this amount every month? It's crazy. So yeah, it just is amazing to me, the things that, the hoops that we have to jump through for the matrix. But yeah, conscious coupling is and as authentic as you can get.
Yeah,
I think.
I love. Yeah,
for sure.
For the longest time I have been you know okay, so back in 2019, okay, I have to leave my soul connection. Okay, like kind of like for good. Like I have a soul connection. I was waiting for him to change, and at the same time, I know that he won't change, so I have to leave it. So the moment I did, I had some of my best friend back then that she was literally coming up to me and say that, you know what is loyalty? That you have no loyalty at all. How could you just live like that? And I was literally sitting there. I was like, for the longest moment, I was like being in shame and guilt. But afterwards, I was just like, hey, hold on a moment. What is loyalty? And I started going down the spiral and like, what is loyalty? And can I define it for myself? That why should I be loyal to someone when they are not loyal to me?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
And I've had many relationships like that, asking myself, like, because I've always been loyal to a fault sometimes. And it's so funny because people would look at my birth chart and think the opposite of me, but it's always happening on the other side. There's always the other person that's doing it to me. But, and that's, being authentic is that loyalty, that version, but you're being loyal to yourself. It's not like, yes, I'm loyal to my partner, but I'm only loyal to my partner because I'm being honest and true and loyal to myself. That's where it always comes back to self, always comes back to self. And, even within that, there's sometimes like, I fear it. I'm like, am I like walking myself into some kind of trap here? I always question. And that's the funny thing, is that's what the matrix wants us to do, is question it all. And so that we can get back to being asleep again and forgetting about all of the really cool things that we've learned. But I think that it says a lot, it takes a lot, and it says a lot when you are somebody that has, been through so much in your life. And I don't know your backstory. I don't think that you know much of my backstory either, but I'm going to assume that we probably both have been through some pretty dramatic things in our lives to get to where we are today. Usually healers are going through pretty dramatic things.
Yeah.
And so you have to get to a point in your life where it's not that other people don't matter. It's just that you matter more to yourself than other people do. And I think that sounds selfish to the matrix world, and it absolutely isn't. And that's what like boggles my mind. I'm like, let's think about this for a minute. If I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of you. And if I'm not being honest with myself, I'm not going to be honest with you. If I'm not being loyal to myself, I'm not going to be loyal to you. Like, add any word into that sentence and then you'll understand. And when I figured that out, when I figured that little game out, I became a better mother. I became a better friend. I became a better partner, everything, all of it. And that's literally when I figured that out, that my partner showed up when I figured that out. So yeah, it was, and I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, you don't, and it's so funny when it clicks too. It's like that last puzzle piece.
Yes.
Wow. But yeah, it's so, so honest, like just there for yourself first and foremost. And I wish people got that more often without feeling like they're being selfish. I wish that more people would put that shame away.
Yeah.
and open themselves up to it.
Unselfish, I want to add on something that I realized a while ago. Selfishness, okay, basically for me, selfishness is a word that is created by someone who wants more in their life, so that they're trying to tell other people that they are being selfish, so that they are giving up what they have so that they can have. So
that's
that is the metrics.
absolutely 100% true. I feel like you need to define that, make it in a page dictionary. Pages
Like,
dictionary of healing words. That would be awesome.
when this hit me, I was just like, okay, mind blown. Capitalism 101. That is
Yes,
it.
exactly. Man, I can't wait till capitalism isn't a thing anymore. Do you think that that's ever going to go away?
I hope so. But it needs to have more people to, jump on the board and just like we stop supporting capitalism.
Yeah. I feel like if it's not gone by the time my youngest is 7, by the time he is an adult with a family and stuff like that, then I feel like there's just really not a lot that we can do anymore.
You are doing a lot.
Yeah, we are doing a lot. I wonder, sometimes I sit and wonder why I chose this lifetime to come back and do all of this.
This is
like,
all our questions.
Yeah. I'm like
why here? Why now?
Yeah. What were we thinking? That's so weird. Life.
But I was saying that, I think that you are doing a lot, because especially you have kids, and that you are actually teaching the right thing to the next generation. Yeah. So even if we are not, reaching where we want it to be, I feel that the next generation is definitely going to push through and get there.
Yeah. Well, and I've had to work through some pretty big emotions around that as well, because my older 2 were from my first marriage and my youngest was from my second marriage. And my older 2 did not have a happy mom growing up. She was very stressed out. She was single most of the time. I've had to not shame myself for all of that, because my youngest gets to have the mom that is conscious parenting and is listening to him and helping him to calm down. And he really needs it because he's autistic. So we all needed to calm down a little bit for that guy. But what I can say is, as now that my older 2 are adults now, I can look at them and say, listen, I know what it was like to be your mom. I don't know what you felt inside of you, but I do want you to know that that's never going to be a thing again. Like, we've had those conversations and those really deep talks, and they can come to me with anything now. They feel like they can come to me with anything. And we have those really, like, those talks that most parents probably, like, we're not having this. I mean, like, yes, we had the sex talks, but mostly we're talking about like what's going on in the skies and what the energies are like today, or, things like that. And, if they're feeling really overwhelmed by something, they come to me and ask me, like, what do I need to do to get over this and not feel this overwhelming thing? And I think that the Sagittarius and Pluto generation, which is what my older 2 boys are in, they're gonna make some really big strides in this world. They need to get over themselves a little bit. I say that because it's Sagittarius. They need to get over. They don't know everything. They think they do, but they don't know everything. But yeah, and it's funny. Some Sagittarius and Pluto people are going to comment on this and be like, "No, yeah." No, they're going to do some amazing things, and then Jack's generation, Capricorn and Pluto, Neptune and Pisces generation, they're going to create. They're like the next Renaissance, I think. They're the ones that have all of those amazing TikToks about them, that they've made music, already. And just so incredibly creative. So I feel blessed to be able to have two different generations that I'm raising, basically. I never thought I honestly never thought that would be something that I would say. I'm really blessed to have be raising two generations. But it's cool. It's very cool. And to see the difference that they can make. It'll be interesting, I think.
Yeah. Like for me, I'm like, I absolutely would love to see like how the future will progress forward and what they do. Like for nowadays, when I look at the young kids, I used to work along with a lot of children. I love children. Okay, I never have one, if anyone are wondering. But yeah, whenever I see how smart they are, like even at like 3 years old, the 3 years old nowadays can come up to me and tell me the biggest philosophy theory ever. And I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah. Jack he'll be 8 in August, and he can already recite all of the planets from the sun to Pluto to me. I try and get it on video. Every time he does it, I try and get on video, and he's like, no, you can't record me. I'm like, dang it. One of these days, though, I'll catch him. And I don't know if he just heard me doing it once or so. I don't know. I don't know if maybe he learned it in school. I don't remember them doing the cosmos at all. But yeah, the first day that he did it, I was like, what did you just say? It was amazing. It was so amazing. And he's a drummer too. He drums better than some of the most famous drummers out there. So yeah, he's going to be he'll be the rock star of the family, probably. I'm pretty sure. More so than his mom.
I'm looking forward to see that.
He's a Leo. You know he's going to outshine me.
Oh.
He'll do his best. It's funny.
Yeah. Wow. I really, really love that. I love listening to your story, and all those that you have recounted. It just hit me so much. Like I was just like, whoa, we have so much in common, even though we probably lead a different life, I have to say.
Oh yeah. It's nice to connect to people like that are across the world but understand. I think that's the coolest part.
I do think that I'm the weirdo out of my whole hometown and the country though, because like I don't see much of them are doing like Reiki and everything yet.
I'm definitely the weirdo. I'm definitely the weirdo. And I do wear these glasses everywhere I go because my eyes are still a little sensitive to light. And so I'm wearing these big heart glasses, and sometimes I forget that they're on my face, and people will smile at me really big. And I'm like, well, that was nice. And then I remember that I have big heart glasses on my eyes. That's what it is.
Well, you can just feel free to like, you're welcome. Like,
yeah, I'm like the Elton John of my block with my big glasses.
Rock it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned, like it keeps coming back to mind is, like the conversation that we can't stand. Oops, is I frozen? Am I frozen?
Just a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I was mentioning about walking away, or don't even like sometimes it's okay to even reject the conversation that we are no longer resonating. Like I think that is that is very important. It will give a lot of people permission to do so, because like seriously, that is painful. Like I'm not sure whether everyone can feel the same, but after sitting through even just like an hour or half an hour of the conversation that you don't like to discuss, you come back feel so drained. I will always come back, I'm just like, I have no more energy. I don't want to do anything. I just want to lie down and go to sleep.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and I recognized that as well. Um, when I had certain people helping me.
Mm,
I tend to keep myself in a bubble, a pretty good bubble.
mm,
Um, and after this whole medical thing happened,
mm,
I had people helping me, and I could tell that at the end of the day, when they would leave, I was more exhausted than I was feeling better. Like they were genuinely trying to help, which is fine, but
mhm,
I couldn't talk about the things that I wanted to talk about because it would either trigger them and then there would be a fight, or
mm,
I mean, that's just the way it went. So it
mm,
would either trigger them, or it would end up being something where they would just not understand what I was saying. They wouldn't be able to hear me. And
yeah.
we as healers say that a lot, that
Mm,
people aren't always ready to hear what you have to say, what you want to say, and what you have to say. And so
yeah.
I had to remind myself of that quite a bit. But I also recognized that that was something that was hindering my healing process. And when I recognized that, the
Mm,
other people did something where I was like, oh, so you're not actually here to help me. You are showing me that you're not supposed to be in my life anymore. I get it now. Um, so anytime I feel like I have to dumb my energy down to meet other people at that level, it's
mm,
showing me that they actually need to be removed from my very tight bubble that I've made. And it's not that I want everybody to be removed from my life. Like, that's not if
mm,
I could, the
mm,
dream for me would be everybody else waking up, elevating themselves so we can have a great big party. Like, let's go to the park, let's barbecue,
mm.
um but that's not what's the word I'm thinking of? I can't think of it.
Realistic,
Rational. It's not
rational.
rational. And especially when I think about the people that I really wish could wake up, and they're not going to, and I know they're not going to, because they're so um stuck. They're so stuck in their victimhood. They're so stuck in their own ways. They're so stuck in the sadness and the pain, and their whole life, being a whole thing.
Exactly.
um and I don't do victim very well. Like, people who like to play the victim, I can't.
Mm,
That's I And it's not that I don't have compassion for them, I just
mm,
don't want them in my space, because I want to look at them and be like, oh, do you really want to talk about having a rough life, or are you just gonna, I mean, it's like, because I can tell you some things if you really want to, and I'll tell you with a smile on my face, because it's not that big of a deal. I survived it all. So
yeah,
why are you complaining?
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
um
mm,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I recently did have myself like remove two of the friend, or two of the person that I really like value the friendship and everything. But at the end they kind of like stuck in their victimhood. And for me, it's very easy. If I can't talk to you, I would, give you a space. You go and heal your thing. I will be on my space and I will see what triggers me and I will heal my thing.
Yeah,
And yeah, that kind of like triggered, and then there went a big hoo-ha. So yeah, when you are mentioning like spirits and universe putting us to kind of like rest space, I feel that too, but it's a different way. Mine is like
absolutely.
totally been on like this kind of like sadness and kind of like working through all the wounds that I have from this friendship, these two relationships. So yeah, I really will resonate with that. Like I don't do victimhood well as well. I know a lot of people are going to might get triggered hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you think about it, like what can you change by constantly complaining? You
Exactly.
change. So why don't we put the energy into doing something more kind of like productive? Maybe that's my earth sign saying, but put it into something that is more, that can
Yeah.
show you a result instead of being here like, oh, poor me,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't do that.
Well, and I think even in my past life, in this lifetime, in my past life, I wasn't the I don't think I outwardly played the victim, but there were times when I felt really sorry for myself, but I wouldn't outwardly do it. Outwardly, I was just taking charge and I was doing what I needed to do to get by. But I never I mean, there were times that I would break down, but it was mostly when I was just by myself, when nobody else was around. Now I'll just cry whenever the hell I want to. Like I'll be in the grocery store line just bawling because I found joy. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. But absolutely, like completely, absolutely and completely that
Yeah.
I mean, you have, and that's, talking about the loyalty, like the loyalty to yourself and all of that, you have to constantly also remind yourself, like I've come really far and I don't need to prove anything. Like when you stop overinflating your expectations for yourself just to prove something to yourself, you're finally recognizing and realizing what that actually means, like that, then you're glowing up, then you're creating space for yourself to move forward. But until you stop proving until you like stop proving things to yourself, because you don't even have to prove things to yourself like that. You don't have to prove things to anybody, and I think that that's the strangest thing, because people will say, well, but I got to work. I got to prove my worth. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'm like, you only feel like you have to do that because the world told you that you have to do those things. If the world didn't tell you that you needed to get up on Monday morning at 8:00 and go to work, what would you be doing instead? And most people couldn't answer that. Or they'll be like, I'd be on a golf course or, whatever. And I'm like, then go on a golf course. Like, why are you, well, I got to pay my bills. And I'm like, okay, then. All right. I'm not arguing with you. I refuse to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's
I feel
definitely
that.
something.
I feel that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, everyone is just like, but I got to do something. I think that obligation is not necessarily an obligation. I mean, bills still exist, yes, but can you do something differently to pay the bills?
Yeah.
A
People
lot of
think
people.
that they have to work at certain jobs to pay their bills.
Yeah.
I literally laid on my back. Well, didn't lay on my back, but I was literally in bed for a month and didn't work. Now we're going on 2 months. I'm finally starting to be able to work again. And I didn't have to worry about how my bills were going to get paid once. Not once did I have to worry about that. There were a couple of times my ego tried to worry me about that. But it would always come back to, this is where you are in your life right now. And this is what has to be happening in your life right now. And we are going to get you through it without you having to stress out. So stop stressing out. And that's what I would hear every time. And if people got quiet to hear those, we're always like rushing to the next thing. And we're not listening to our guides. We're not listening to our higher self. And we're not listening to our, the spirits that are around us that are trying to help us. Have you ever read the book Spirit Hacking by Shaman Durek?
No.
I'm going to send that title to you because I think that you would really like it. I don't know if they might have it. I don't know if he has it in. Do you speak Japanese? Is that what
I do speak Japanese. Yeah, but yeah, I can go to Book Depository and just try and find it, because that would be free shipping and everything. Should be fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I was like, I don't know what language you would get it in. But it's such an amazing book, and he's got a lot of really cool insights about becoming, like, really just becoming who you are and remembering who you are, and how to do all of that. And I listened to it in the car when I went to go see my grandmother's funeral. And it was probably one of the most fascinating books. Bye, Bubba. My son's leaving for work. So he was so good, being all quiet and stuff. Yeah, so I'm gonna send that. It's called Spirit Hacking, but I'll send that to you. But I want everybody to know it too. Spirit Hacking by Shaman Durek.
Okay. So I can probably search it up on, like, Book Depository or Amazon, and then I just put the link down there, and so that everyone can know about this book as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, being yourself in a world
Again.
full of, in a world that,
please.
What? We keep on freezing.
Yeah. Mercury is trolling me, but yes.
Yep.
Yeah. You were saying about
being yourself in a world where everybody doesn't want you to be yourself is kind of crazy. So I think that the more help that we can get from healers and people like us,
yes,
the easier it can be to transition,
Yeah.
But really the biggest thing is starting with your own self-realization and asking yourself, is this who I really am? Is this my authenticity? Is this my authentic voice? Or am I people pleasing?
Yeah.
Am I doing this for another reason, or am I doing this for myself? And that's a great question to ask yourself every day. Am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this for somebody else?
Yeah.
We tend to resent people when we do things for people. And we don't do things for ourselves, but we just do things for people. And I don't resent anybody anymore, because I'm going to do those things for myself first. And then I'll do things for you. But then it just gives me more time and love to do things for you. So.
Yeah. So when you're touching about it, it's also remind me, like, sometimes I would even, like, purposely take a small break before I start my energy session, just to, like, hey, am I ready to do this? I will always ask myself, like, am I okay to do this session, or do I need to contact the person and postpone the session? Yeah, because, like, that is so important for healer as well.
Huge.
When you're not in that space to send the energy, a lot of time that you are not sending the energy, you're probably receiving all the energy, and you're just probably getting nothing.
Right. Those little holes that we have in our energy fields that we weren't paying attention to. And I think that's a great practice to have. And at the end of every day, and this is something I really need to get into as I start working with people's energy again, but at the end of every day, I would always check in with my aura and with my energy and make sure that all the holes, because even as healers, we're taking on energy as we sleep too.
Yes.
So especially, I think that I have a ghost cat in my house. I keep seeing a shadow. I live in a really old house. It's like a World War II, basically one of the World War II houses. And I keep seeing a shadow, and it's not big enough to be a person or a small child. It's just on the floor. So I think it's a cat. It's really funny. I've just noticed it the last few months too. So I'm like, I wonder if you were hiding and now you're. I don't need to get a cat now. I've got one.
True.
Yeah.
I just like, whoa.
So funny. That's a good
Yeah.
practice though to have. Wonderful.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, it is. Well, we are coming to a pause. So let me ask, like, do you have any topic you'd like to touch on for today? Or yeah, if not, then we can actually close today's conversation, and then we can come back on again on another day, talking about other topics. Like I
Yeah.
would love to hear you talking about raising kids as a spiritual mom. That would be great. Or conscious partnership, conscious friendship. All of those are going to be such great topics.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that would be, those are wonderful future topics, and I would love to be a part of that. Thank you. I think that would be fun. You just tell me when and I'll be here.
awesome.
All right.
So for at the end of today's, do you have anything you like to mention about what you're doing? Anything coming up for you?
As I am getting myself back to working order again, I have a new podcast myself called The Love Soul Movement. I'll give you the link for that, for the Spotify link for that. Right now it's coming out every other Friday. I've noticed that there's a pattern with me where some Fridays, some weeks I just don't really want to do much, and I was like, oh, so I guess this podcast is coming out every other Friday instead of every Friday. So, which is fine. Maybe someday it'll start going up again. And I am going to start doing some more readings on my Fearless Intuition channel as well. So I will have a Love Soul Movement YouTube, and I have my Fearless Intuition, and I'll give you all those links. But right now, that's really all that I'm doing. I haven't started taking personal clients yet. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm just kind of like letting myself be led by the energy right now. The flow is where I'm at. So, but I loved talking with you today. This was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be a part of your podcast.
Thank you very much for being here. It is lovely talking to you, and all those topics, they just like open my mind so much more, and I learned a lot just having conversation with you today.
Good.
I will be linking all your links, and anything you like to add, feel free to just send me. You can send me via Twitter, or you can send to my email.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. I know I am still not taking comments, not taking questions from the viewers. So maybe one day I will figure out going on both sides. But I would really prefer to have like conversation like this. So yeah, we will see how we work that out.
Yeah, that's good. Let it flow.
So yes. So I will be ending today's live. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you Betsy for being with me. If you want to chat, we can stay on a little bit more.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll end the live.
Okay.
Good question. I actually do not know how to end the live.